to my channel. It has been a very long time, my friends. I am so sorry for my absence and my lack of explanation about said absence. In all honesty, I do not have a very good excuse. It's just been a couple of months where I have not really wanted to do anything related to reading or booktube or bookstagram or anything to do with books, even though I do love books, but recently they've just not really been a huge part of my life. I have been hauling some books over the past 2 months, not many, but just some that I knew I was waiting for them to come out in the month of April and May that I really wanted to get, but I've not been reading them, including Malibu Rising, which I know that once I started I'll probably read it in one go, as I've done every other book by Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I've just not wanted to plunge myself into books recently. I just wanted to give you guys a small update because I do feel like although it's a small channel and there's not a huge amount of followers, you people came to follow me, and it's such a nice feeling to know that some people care about what I'm saying. And so I just wanted to make you aware that I don't plan on quitting or anything, that I'm still having fun doing YouTube, but it is an extra hobby on top of a lot of other hobbies that I have in my life, on top of my daytime job that does go from 9 to 5:30. So it is like taking a lot of time from my personal time, and as much as I enjoy that, sometimes I just want to do something else, completely something else. Recently, I've just not had much motivation to read and to edit and post videos on YouTube, just because it has felt like more work than anything else. And I don't think that I'm seeing this channel as work in general. So I just wanted to take a small step back just to enjoy it again. And I think the reason why is because I've been more focused on writing, actually. I've been writing quite a lot and I'm really enjoying myself doing that. And I'm just going with the flow, just following whatever I'm feeling is good right now. And what's good right now for me is writing and trying to slowly get back into the world. Because yes, things are starting to reopen in the UK. We're able to go to pubs, not just outdoors, but also indoors. And now the weather is lovely outside. It's starting to feel like summer here. And it's just been so nice to be able to think, okay, I can go out this weekend, I can see people do things. And I think that will take a little moment of adaptation, just like to balance things out again, because still have work, still have hobbies, things like writing, reading, etc. Still want to do this channel and also see people now again and go out again and do stuff again. So all of this combined means that it's a little bit overwhelming and I'm just taking a little time to readapt, really. So I did film about a month ago, I think, a little video update that I planned on posting just to tell you, hey, here's what I've been reading, here's what I've not been reading, here's what I'm catching up to. I think I even mentioned things like watching Shadow and Bone and things like that. So I think I will put in this footage here just because it is still accurate, it is still what I did in the month of April. It just doesn't include what I've done in the month of May. So here's what I did in the month of April. So I thought I would tell you guys where I'm at in terms of my TBR, the books that I have read, the books that I still need to read, and the reason why I'm not doing a month of May TBR game, and also a couple of books that I've bought recently, so a mini book haul towards the end of this video. So in April, I ended up DNFing one book, finishing 2 books from my TBR list, finishing 1 book that was not on my TBR list, and starting another book that is over 800 pages long. So let's start with what I have read and started. First, I ended up DNFing this book called Crave, and if you watch my video about reading TikTok recommended books, you will know why. If not, you can go ahead and watch this video towards the end of it. I talk about this book briefly. I only read about 100 pages of it and just really immediately realized it was not made for me, so I stopped quite quickly. This says on the back that it's this generation's Twilight, and I kind of feel like that's all you really need to know about the story. Next, I read and finished this book, which was on my TBR list for the month of April, and it is Ring Shout by P. Jelly Clark, and I'm gonna post it at some point as part of a video where I read a bunch of different novellas, so shorter books in general, just only that in that video. I really enjoyed it. This is kind of horror, kind of fantasy. It's a little bit hard to categorize it, and it's a novella that talks about a world where the KKK has, during its second wave, actually been reactivated or something by actual sorcerers, people who made magic happen in order to make monsters come from hell and get them disguised as members of the KKK. Our main character, Maryse Boudreau, is a type of Buffy-like character, and her friends are battling these monsters that are being disguised as KKK members. It was super fun, super interesting, completely different from what I expected, and just overall, I really enjoyed this ride. Next, I actually read this book called The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, and this was not part of my TBR list, but this is a book I read at the same time as my brother, and we enjoy this type of Japanese cult classic mystery novels, and this is heavily inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, but it was so fun. I really enjoyed it, even though I actually read And Then There Were None and didn't enjoy it as much, probably because it's on the shorter side from the books that she's written, and I just felt like there wasn't enough information about the characters for me to care that they were getting murdered one by one. While in this book there was a lot more information and point of views as well from all these different characters involved, so you do end up really wondering the entire time who is doing it and why. So this is really fun, and I would definitely recommend it. It's published by Pushkin Vertigo, that has been publishing a bunch of translated classic mystery novels like this, and I think the first one I read was the Honjin House Murders. I don't think it's House, I think it's just the Honjin Murders. Yeah, and I loved it, by a different author, and then we decided to read this one next, and it was really fun. Next, I actually literally just finished today reading The Sanatorium by Sarah Pearse. I had been wanting to read this as part of a video where I'm going to be reading my most anticipated thrillers of the year. So this one was a little bit of a disappointment, and I ended up rounding it up to 3 stars, but it was kind of a 2.5, 2.75 stars for me. Mostly the ending was disappointing. It was just a big fat villain monologue that kind of revealed everything, and there was no way for the reader to really like start gathering the information and try to figure it out themselves, which is something I really love in thrillers. So kind of a missed opportunity for me, and most importantly, I just really did not connect with the main character. Thought she was just not someone I wanted to root for. She was just constantly apologizing for everything and saying that everyone was right about stuff that she was wrong about, and it was just really frustrating to read from her point of view. And then there's also the fact that although she's meant to be a detective who's on a break from a case that went really badly, she's not acting ever like she's an actual detective. She's just always investigating in a way that made me think any civilian could do this, and it just didn't really impress me, so maybe that's also why I wasn't really rooting for her. So she goes to this sanatorium place that is a hotel that used to be a sanatorium in the Swiss Alps, I think, and she's invited by her brother, who she doesn't really talk to anymore, but he just got engaged and is having an engagement party there. So she decides to head there, and then one person disappears, someone from the hotel, and the summary kind of tells you, but they don't realize that someone else disappeared a long time ago. So it's connected to older crimes as well, but that's all I can really tell you without giving spoilers. So these two, The Sanatorium and Ring Shout, were both on my TBR game for the month of April, and I've now read those, but that's the only 2 that I actually read from that list. The other 3, I believe, were The Deck of Omens, Such a Fun Age, and Girls of Paper and Fire, and I've not gotten to any of those just yet. What I did start reading instead is To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. So he's the author of Aragon, which I actually never read when I was younger, but I do know of it because it's really famous. So yeah, I bought this book a while ago, realized how much of a brick it was, decided never to pick it up because I'm terrified of huge books, and then ended up actually picking it up last weekend, or the weekend before that. What happened is I actually also own the Kindle version of this book on my phone because I have my Kindle app on my phone, which is quite big, so it's really easy to read books on it. And I got stuck at the hairdresser's for about 3 hours because that's how long it takes to do my hair, because to color it, especially after a long time not doing anything to it because of lockdown and hairdressers being closed for so many months, it took a good 3 hours in total. So yeah, I started reading that book because it was one of the only ones that I had on my phone that I really wanted to read and get to at some point. I do want to read this as part of another video where I'm going to be reading 3 sci-fi novels, and this is one of the 3, so I had filmed a little intro for that already, so I knew it was on my list at some point. I think I reached around here, like I've read only this much, which is 130 pages or so, which is actually quite a lot. I mean, it's a good amount for any book, but this book is over 800 pages. I think it's close to 900. Yeah, it's 878. So it doesn't look like I've even made a dent into it. But I just figured I would let you guys know what I have been reading, even if I think it's going to take me a long time to get through this book. It is really fast-paced and really fun to read so far, so I do think that I'm going to be enjoying myself reading it. And every single time I'm going to be on the tube and wanting to read something, I can pick it up because it's on my phone. But I don't think it's going to be a priority. I'm not going to prioritize this book over other ones on my TBRs. My next book that I'm going to be picking up, I think, is going to be Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reid, because I am reading this one as part of another themed video. This one is one where I'm going to be reading 3 contemporary novels, and I've only got this one left to read to complete this video, and I really would like to post it for you guys this month. So this is going to be the next book that I pick up. Finally, let's get to the portion of this video where I'm going to be talking about the books that I have bought recently, and let's give you a mini book haul. I've also just unhauled a bunch of books, so all the ones that you saw in my previous video where I decided through reading chapters 1 to 2 of each book whether I wanted to unhaul them or not. I actually finally managed to get to a charity shop here in London where they have reopened, and went and got rid of all these books as donations for the charity shop, so I'm very happy about that, and that's also why I feel more willing to buy new books now. So first of all, here are 2 books that I have bought recently. I bought Helter Skelter by Vincent Bugliosi with Kurt Gentry, and then I bought this mystery novel by Ellery Queen called The Greek Coffin Mystery. So Helter Skelter is true crime, and this is going to be part of a theme video at some point where I read a bunch of true crime books, because I've collected a few that I really want to get to. And also I just loved this edition so much, this version. Here's the back cover, and here is the front cover. So I just love the fact that it's an actual vintage book and that it's secondhand and everything, and I just really didn't like the cover of the new version of the book, so I kind of went out of my way to buy this version. It wasn't too expensive and I was just happy to do so, and just, it's good, you know, buy vintage books. I think that's a good idea, buy secondhand. So this obviously talks about the Manson murders, as it says here on the cover, the true story of the Manson murders. And then the other secondhand vintage book that I bought was The Greek Coffin Mystery by Ellery Queen. It says here, America's master crime solver. What I love about this edition is at the back it says here, here's Ellery Queen's famous challenge to the reader. Can you solve the Greek coffin mystery? By page 244 you'll have the lineup of suspects, their secrets, their alibis, their ties to the deceased. Follow the clues and they'll lead you straight to the killer. Take one wrong turn and you're lost. Can you do it? Can you match the fabulous Ellery Queen, wit for wit, killer for killer? Next, I bought myself this book, Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas. So I recently read, actually this year, Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, and absolutely loved it. Loved the fact that it was a standalone as well, that it was neatly wrapped up by the end. Really enjoyed every single thing about that book. Gave it my strongest 5-star of the year so far. I just adored that book. So immediately when I saw this and fell in love in the cover straight away, I had to buy it. And I don't know much about this book except for the fact that it's very loosely inspired by Peter Pan, but that it's got more to do with crime in there. So it mentions here, when children go missing, people want answers. And the main character that we follow is Wendy. It says, it's been 5 years since Wendy and her 2 brothers vanished into the woods near the small coastal town of Astoria, Oregon. And then it says something about her finding a boy unconscious in the middle of the road, and that his name is Peter, and it's a boy she thought lived only in her stories. So that's kind of all I know about this book. I'm quite excited to read it, and I just absolutely love that cover. It's just stunning. Next, I also bought myself Opal and Nev by Donnie Walton. Well, actually it's called The Final Revival of Opal and Nev. And I kind of bought it because, according to the reviews, it was basically Daisy Jones and the Six, but even better. And I really enjoyed reading Daisy Jones and the Six this year as well. But I kind of wanted more of that format. I really just enjoy having an interview format, and thought that it was really like fast-paced, fun reads when you have that kind of format. So I thought, why not? I enjoy reading about music. It's something that I'm really passionate about as well. And I think this is happening in the 60s in New York. I'm not entirely sure, I might be wrong, but I think that's kind of the vibe that I got from the summary. It's about this main character, Opal, who is discovered by Nev Charles, a singer-songwriter, and oh, it says early 70s New York City, there we go. It says here that just as she is finding her niche as part of a flamboyant and funky creative scene, a rival band signed to her label brandishes a Confederate flag at a promotional concert. And I think it says here, decades later, as Opal considers a 2016 reunion with Nev, music journalist Sunny Shelton seizes the chance to create an oral history about her idols. So we're reading this book from the point of view of, in 2016, this journalist is writing the story by interviewing Opal and Nev, I guess, and learning more about what happened back in the 70s in New York City. Finally, the last book that I have bought recently is Hummingbird Salamander by Jeff Vandermeer. And the reason why I bought this one is because if you've watched my TikTok recommended video, I actually read another book by Jeff Vandermeer this year, which is called Born, and I just really enjoyed the writing style so much. I had read previously the Southern Reach trilogy, which is Annihilation, and then I don't remember the other two, but I had adored his writing style. I thought it was so rich in vocabulary and I can really learn from it. And the same thing happened when I read Born. I just enjoyed it just as much. So I thought, why not buy his new book called Hummingbird Salamander, because I would love to read more by the same author, really. And this cover is absolutely stunning. So this is the front, and then the back with the salamander, and I just think this is beautiful. I have absolutely no idea what this book talks about. I kind of bought it knowing that it was by an author I liked, and knowing that his writing style and what he writes about is usually just weird sci-fi. And I'm expecting this book to be just the same, weird sci-fi. This kind of summarizes where I've been at, what's been going on in my life in the month of April, what I have been reading, not reading, and buying. Okay, so now that you guys have seen what I had to say in the past about what I was doing in the month of April, I can finally tell you also what I have been doing in the month of May. So, still not been reading much at all. I actually don't think I finished a single book in the month of May. That is pretty terrible. A lot of the books that I did read were, you know, kind of trashy romances on Kindle Unlimited that clearly were not edited. I was really keen on reading two other books which were still on my list from like March and that I didn't read, and that I was meant to read in April and that I didn't read. I can't even remember which month it was meant to be, but I did plan on reading Girls of Vapor and Fire and The Deck of Moments, and I even took them with me because I have this one on my Kindle and this one physically I took with me on holiday when I went to Brussels to see my parents, and did not read them. I just didn't want to read anything. I wrote again, but did not read. So I still think I want to read these books. They're still on my TBR. They're still books that I intend on reading. And I am once again this month still not doing another TBR game because I haven't finished the books that I want to read and before I plunge myself in new ones. And I feel like if I do a TBR game, it's just going to put pressure on me to read these new books when I haven't even finished the previous ones. And I feel bad about it. I know it's not like a punishment thing. I'm not punishing myself by forcing myself to read books I don't want to read. I do want to read them. It's just that I don't think I'm going to manage to read anything else right now. It's not books that I'm not keen on reading. It's just anything. I'm not keen on reading anything. Unless it seems extremely easy. Like Kindle Unlimited trashy romances that have never seen the light of an editor's desk. So that's what I'm reading at the moment. So as I mentioned, I did go to Brussels in the month of May to see my parents, and it was so good. It was so nice. I took a proper long 1 week break and managed to get so many barbecues in. My dad just loves making a barbecue, so that's kind of what I did. And while I was there, I did not exactly have the most relaxing time because I did something to myself. It was my choice. I decided to do this. I repainted my whole bedroom because my childhood bedroom has not changed since I was like 18 when I decided that orange was a great color, which I actually really don't think is a great color. I mean, especially for wall paint. And I just had left like this old Star Wars poster on the walls, and there was like some water damage on one of the walls because the shower's on the other side and there's been an issue with how the shower was made, and this damage just has been there for ages. It just looks terrible. It looks absolutely awful. So while I was home, I was like, I want to repaint it and kind of rebuild the wall and make it look nice, as decent as possible. So that is what I did, and cue in the montage, I guess.
Once upon a time I had 9 lives. I could take the front and back the same night. I could be a party girl or a guy. Whatever I wanted, that was my life. I don't wanna brag it, my stilo. More like only talking to my pillow. I had plenty, I had 20 rings on my feet though. I even look good in some Speedos. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Yeah. What you gonna do? Bye bye. When I was a kid, I had mad tricks. Other kids would look and be like, oh shit. Now I'm watching chill and think, why you still doing all those things? I don't wanna brag it, my stilo. More like only talking to my pillow. I had plenty, I had 20 rings on my feet though. I even look good in some Speedos. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Now that you have seen pretty much that I have been up to recently, one last thing is I've got a mini book haul for you. So I bought recently this book called The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni, which I don't know why, I just kept getting it as an ad on Amazon or something, and I was actually intrigued by it when I read the summary. So it sounds like it's in a fantasy world where this woman who's 17-year-old, she is a survivor. Her name is Kiva Meriden, and it says for 10 years. Holy fuck, so since she was 7? Anyway, she has worked as the healer in the notorious death prison Zalindov, making herself indispensable. But then there's an infamous rebel queen that is made prisoner and arrives at the prison's door, and it basically, she is put into a trial by ordeal, which I think like no one has ever survived or something, or is super dangerous. And because the queen is sick, our heroine Kiva decides to take her place and do the trial for her. And that's all I know about this, but I think it's gonna be really fun and just kind of an adventure, so I have high hopes for this. Then I bought myself Axiom's End because I've always wanted to buy it. It's by Lindsay Ellis. If you don't know, she's also a YouTuber, and she also talks about a lot of literature in general and other things as well. But I've always liked her channel, and then when I saw that she wrote a book, I wasn't too sure at first because I was like, I don't know how I feel about reading YouTubers' books, which is stupid because I do intend on writing one day. But anyway, just because a lot of the time they don't write in a genre that I personally want to read in. But then I realized it was sci-fi, and reading the summary of it, the synopsis, I was like, yes, I am actually really interested in this, and I think she's got her second one coming out soon, so I wanted to get ahead and read this before the second one comes. And then I also have 2 books that have arrived while I was away and that I still haven't opened, kind of thinking I would open them on camera, which is what I'm gonna do now. I don't know which one is which, but one of them, you know, is actually going to be Malibu Rising. I don't think it's this one. This is The Other Black Girl. Ooh. I am struggling with this packaging. Packaging from Waterstones is always so tight. There we go. Look at that! And I forgot I got the signed edition. I'm so happy. So this is The Other Black Girl by Zakia Delilah Harris, and it is a thriller that has to do with race issues. 26-year-old editorial assistant Nella Rogers is tired of being the only black employee at Wagner Books. Fed up with the isolation and the microaggressions, she's thrilled when Hazel starts working in the cubicle beside her. They've only just started comparing natural hair care regimens, though, when a string of uncomfortable events causes Nella to become public enemy number 1 and Hazel the office darling. Then the notes begin to appear on Nella's desk. Leave Wagner now. It's hard to believe Hazel is behind these hostile messages, but as Nella starts to spiral and obsess over the sinister forces at play, she soon realizes that there is a lot more at stake than her career. Dark, funny, and fiercely entertaining, The Other Black Girl is a smart satire on race and modern-day workplace that will keep you guessing until the very last twist. And that just sounds so fucking exciting. I hope I like it because I sometimes don't love psychological thriller, and this sounds like a psychological thriller, but also just sounded like the synopsis made me want to read it. Like most psychological thrillers, it doesn't. So hopefully that means I'm gonna enjoy it. Finally, this has got to be Malibu Rising. Sorry, I forget that I'm opening on camera. Yes! Beautiful! Look at that. Which I actually am feeling a bit stupid because if I had bought it from Waterstones, I would also have a signed edition of this. But I didn't. I just went with the big bad guys, aka Amazon. This one happens, I believe, in the 80s. Yeah, it says Malibu, August 1983. And what I have heard is that there are characters from the other books that are mentioned in there. So it kind of creates a little Taylor Jenkins Reid universe where you have loose fictional characters that she created because they're celebrities in the other 2 books that come up in this book. So I'm very excited about that. It's the day of Nina Reeves' annual end of summer party, and anticipation is at a fever pitch. Everyone who's anyone wants an invite to catch a glimpse of the famous Riva siblings. Nina, the talented surfer and supermodel, brothers Jay and Hud, one a championship surfer, the other a renowned photographer, and their adored baby sister Kit. Together, the siblings are a source of fascination in Malibu and the world over, especially as the children of the legendary singer Mick Riva. By midnight, the party will be completely out of control. By morning, the Riva mansion will have gone up in flames. But ahead of that first spark, in the early hours before dawn, the alcohol will flow, the music will play, and the loves and secrets that shaped this family will all come bubbling to the surface. I mean, I am so excited. I've loved the other two books that I have read by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I give both of them 5 stars for very different reasons. I enjoyed them on very different levels, and I just feel like I'm going to enjoy this one just as much. It's also just, she writes in a way that I find so easy, so fascinating. It makes me want to continue reading on and never stop. And that's why when I read Evelyn Hugo, I read it just in one day. Because I couldn't stop, and it was just so great. So hopefully this is going to be the same experience with this one. Also, I find these colors so gorgeous. I just love this cover. So yeah, pretty excited for this one. I may very well read these books this month, so it's actually like kind of a TBR at the same time as a little book haul, I guess, I don't know. But I just thought I would tell you what's going on and kind of give you an update on my life, what I'm reading, what I have not been reading, and just tell you that I am not completely MIA and that I do intend on coming back. I have quite a lot of themed videos that I did start and that I plan on finishing, for which I have sometimes read 1 or 2 books, things like that. And I have one that I've finished recently, which is reading 3 contemporary novels, so I just need to edit that and post it soon. So there is content coming up, I swear, and I'm so sorry that I have abandoned you for now 2 months, I think. I'm not entirely sure. I promise to make an effort not to abandon you guys for this long again. I guess that's it. I don't have much else to say. I just hope you enjoyed this little update and that you still want to follow me and see what's going to come up soon. Hopefully you are interested in these upcoming videos. If you did enjoy this video and you want to know more, please leave a like, leave a comment. I always try to respond. Consider subscribing, ring that bell, all that jazz, and I will see you guys in the next one.